Hello guys. It's like a few more weeks away until Thanksgiving, so we'll wait while I read this. Down a Dark Hall by LOIS Duncan. I'll be reading to you guys here for a while, and let's get started. Chapter 1. They had been driving since dawn, but for the past 2 hours since they had turned off the highway onto the winding road that led through the hill country, Kid Gordy had been sleeping, perhaps not completely sleeping. A part of her mind had remained awake, conscious of the curves in the road and the fleeting warmth of the September.
I will not talk to them.
She told herself.
I have nothing to say to them.
When the car drew to a stop, she could not keep herself from opening her eyes. When she did, she found her mother turned sideways, looking back to her. "Hi, sleepyhead," Mrs. Rowland said. "You've been missing a lot of pretty countryside, pastures, the brooks, and rolling hills. It's been like something out of the picture, has it?" Kit asked, with a disinterest. She straightened in the seat and glanced out the window. "Are we stopping for gas?" That in direction, Dan Rowland told her. "According to the map, this must be Blackwood Village, even though I can't find the sign anywhere." "It couldn't be far to school now," Madame Durrett's letter said. It was only about 10 miles past the town limits. The service station was small, with only one pump and one attendant who could be seen through the open door, sitting with his front feet propped on the cash register, reading a magazine. Kate glanced down a narrow street where the one block was lined in the store funds and groceries, the store, a pharmacy, and a hardware store, and a gift shop with a display of trendy items in the window. It's the middle of the nowhere," she said. "There isn't a movie theater." "I think it's nice," Mrs. Rowland said. "I grew up in a little town like this one, and it was delightful, with no noises, no pressure, everybody knowing everybody else. I didn't realize a place like this exists anymore." "When we get back from Europe," Dan said, "maybe we can find one to live in." His voice was gentle, pounding Kit, though, like something from a Sunday afternoon TV show. But her mother didn't seem to think so. She smiled and tilted her head, looking almost girlish despite the lines in the corners of her eyes and the faint sheen of silver in her dark hair. "Could we?" she asked. "But Dan, your work. They have lawyers in the little towns as well as big ones. Or I could just drop law altogether and open the movie theater in Blackwood Village." They laughed together, and Kit turned her head. "The middle of nowhere," she grumbled again. "A whole year here? I won't be able to stand it." "I wouldn't worry." The gentleness was gone from Dan's voice. "I doubt that you'll be getting into the village very of 10. Your life will be pretty centered around the school." He gave a horn and a beep, and the attendant looked up and startled. It took a moment to adjust to the summons, and slowly laid his magazine on the counter. He stretched, yawned, and finally got to his feet and come begrudgingly out to the car. "Want some gas, mister? You can't pump it yourself and pay inside." "I'll do that," Dan said, "but I also need a direction. Can you tell us how to find the Blackwood School for Girls around here?" The man looked bewildered. "It's a boarding school run by Madame Durrett. The post office address is Blackwood Village, but the school itself is supposed to be out of town in a ways. It used to be private home owned by a man named Brewer." "Oh, the Brewer place," the man nodded. in recognition. Well, sure, I know where that is. I did hear that some or foreign lady had bought the place. She's had some of the town people up there during the summer getting into the shape fixing the roof and the grounds at all. I think she's hired Bob Curler's girl Natalie to do the kitchen work. Can you tell us how to get there? Dan asked patiently. That's easy enough. Just follow this road through the town and out on the other side. I'll take you up into the hills and you'll see a private road cutting in from the left. He turned and went back inside. The kid sighed, leaning her head back against the seat. Honey, please. Her mother turned and looked at her with wide eyes. Just give the school a chance. The pictures were so lovely with that wonderful old house and a pond in the woods all around it. And Madame Dorette was so charming when we met her last spring. She seemed happy enough about going when first suggested. That's when I thought Tracy was going, Kit said. I still don't see why I can't go to Europe with you and Dan. I won't be any trouble. I'm 16. I can't take care of myself. Kit, that's enough. There was an edge in the Dan's voice. We've been over it and over it. I know your position in the family has been different from the most girls. We just the two of you. Your mother has treated you as her equal rather than a child. You are strong-willed and intimidated and very used to running things, but you are not going with us on our honeymoon. But I don't see Kit here. Dan interrupted her. No more now. You're upsetting your mother. He got out of the car, filled the tank, and went inside to pay. Kit and her mom sat in silence until he returned, got into the car, and started the engine. They pulled out onto the street and drove past the block of the shop fronts of the past, another 2 blocks of small white houses, and then across the bridge over the narrow river, where the water swirled forth to move between gray stones. Then the town was behind them, and they began to climb. Trees grew thicker along the sides of the road as the fields gave away. The woodland danced in the dark, and still smelling of summer, they laced their branches across the road like guards skid through protecting something that lies beyond. Growing up in the city, she had never had a chance to really know trees, only the ones in the park and a few small, thin ones in the front of the public library. If you watched those carefully, you could mark the seasons and their leaves translucent green once in the springtime, then it drooped in the summer, crinkled and fell into the autumn frost. The trees they had passed now were different, wild, strange, and living separate like their own countryside among the trees. There's nothing lovelier than upset New York in the autumn, Kit's mother had said when the brochure describing Blackwood arrives in the mail. The school sounds perfect. The small selected number of the students, individual instruction, and music and art, and all the sorts of advanced studies that you wouldn't get into public high school. When you graduate from Blackwood, Kid, you should be able to get into any college in the country. This Madame Dorette has an impressive background. Dan had added studying the written material. She was the owner, the headmistress of the girls' school in London, and before that she had one in Paris. And she has the fantastic knowledge of art. I recall reading an article about her once in Newsweek. One of the paintings she picked up somewhere at an auction turned out to be an original Vermeer that would interest Tracy, Kit had said. Her best friend, Tracy Rosenblum, considered herself an artist. I wonder, her mother had said thoughtfully, if the Rosenblums might want to consider sending Tracy to Blackwood. They can certainly afford it, and two of you have always been inseparable. Do you think they might? Kit's enthusiastic suddenly went up. She and Tracy had been close friends since elementary school. Going away to boarding school wouldn't be so bad if Tracy were going too. So for 6 weeks she had been drift along, accepting whatever came. Her mother's marriage to Dan, their plan for a European honeymoon, that rooms tested that were necessary to entrance the Blackwood, confident that soon she would escape it all with her best friend. Then the notice arrived that Tracy had now been accepted. It was though the bottom that dropped out Kit's work. I'm not going, she had stormed. It won't be fun without Tracy, but for the first time in her life, she found herself faced to a stubbornness that matched her own. Of course you're going, Dan had to tell her firmly. You'll make new friends knowing you. I won't be surprised if you're elected president to the student body the first week you get there. He had smiled when he said it, but the tone of his voice had no room for argument. Kit had clung to one last hope, that her mother might intercede for her, but that faded today with each passing mile. Now they were on the final lap of the journey with the Blackwood, only the matter of minutes away. There could be no turning back at this point. It was time to face the inevitable. They almost missed the road because there was no pay. Dan hit the brakes, brought the car to a stop, and backed it up again. Could that be it? He asked formally. There isn't any name on it. You think there would be sign of some sort inviting us in? Let's give it a try. Kit's mother suggests we've come good 10 miles, then there haven't been any roads. Nothing to lose, I guess. Dan pulled into the lane, and Kit felt the tires sink a little in the rich, damp soil. They inched their way along with several yards, and then the road curved, and suddenly the trees closed in around them. It was as if the highway behind them never existed, for they were in a world of cool darkness, where the only sound was the rustle of the leaves, and the only door, the wild sweet smell of the earth and woods. This can't be right, Dan said. It continued inching forward as the road twisted and rose and turned up again, and suddenly they were passing through an open gate in the high spike fence. Gravel crunched beneath the wheels. This is it, Kit exclaimed, surprised into the speech. There's the sign. This is the Blackwood. For the moment, she forgot that she did not want to be there in a simple facade, staring wide-eyed at the vista that had opened before them. There, one of the rise above them stood a house such as she had never envisioned in her strangest dreams. It was huge, and 3 stories tall, with a black steel roof and steep, and it seemed to fall rather than one slope in its outer edge. The walls were of grey stone, no 2 at the same size and shape, arranged some one upon another so as to fit together like child's jigsaw puzzle.